The twin suns of planet Xantora burned in the sky, casting long shadows across the marble arena. Thousands of alien nobles sat in silver stands watching the grand ceremony. Flags fluttered, drums echoed, and trumpets made of bone played a deep sound. It was the day of trials, a royal tradition older than memory. At the center stood Princess Zira, tall, proud, and untouchable. Her skin shimmered with a violet glow and her eyes held the calm fire of command. Her hair was braided with stardust threads, and a golden crown floated just above her head, held by invisible energy. The trials were simple. Warriors from across the galaxy competed for honor, power, or a place in the royal army. No outsider had ever dared enter, especially not a human. As she stood on the podium, bored by speeches and endless gifts, Princess Zira let out a soft laugh. "Maybe I should spice things up," she whispered to her royal advisor. Then she raised her voice so the crowd could hear her. Her tone was playful, teasing. "If any human survives the royal trials," she said, "I'll marry him myself." The nobles gasped, then laughed. Laughter rolled across the arena like thunder. A human survive? Marry a royal? Impossible, just a joke. But in the far corner of the gathering, someone did not laugh. He stood silently among the cargo workers and traders. A human male, dusty, tired, dressed in old clothes. His name was Jackson Vale. His face was calm, but his jaw tightened slightly when he heard the princess's words. Later that night, the list of trial applicants appeared on the public hologram. Names flickered in alien script, and at the bottom, a strange name in English. Jackson Vale, species human, status confirmed. The guards thought it was an error. The officials laughed. Even the other contestants mocked the entry. But the next morning, when the gates opened for trial registration, the human was there, real, tall, quiet, and holding his ID chip. "Are you serious?" The guard asked. "Do you know what these trials are? You won't last a minute." "I don't need a minute," Jackson said softly, "just a chance." Word spread fast. By evening, the entire palace buzzed with rumors. A human entered the trials? He'll be crushed in the first challenge. Maybe he just wants to impress the princess. Inside her chamber, Princess Zira stared at his face on the screen. He didn't look like much. Not muscular, not rich, not impressive, but his eyes. Something about his eyes made her pause. They weren't scared. "Interesting," she said to herself. "Let's see how long you last." The next day, the first trial was announced. The Beast Pits. It was the most brutal test of all. Contestants would be dropped into a dark arena, filled with wild alien beasts trained to attack. The rule was simple: survive for 5 minutes. The crowd filled the viewing stands. Officials wore robes. The princess watched from her private box, sipping golden wine. Jackson stood at the edge of the pit. No armor, no weapons, just a shirt and boots. The alien beside him laughed. "You'll be food in seconds, human." The gates creaked. The beasts growled. The bell rang, and then the gate dropped. 5 giant beasts stormed into the pit, each one bigger than a tank, covered in glowing fur and razor claws. The alien contestants screamed and ran in circles, swinging their weapons. Jackson did not run. He stood still, eyes locked with the nearest beast. And then, something strange happened. The largest beast slowed down. It looked at Jackson and sniffed the air. The others paused too. Instead of attacking, the beast took one step closer. Then another. Everyone in the arena leaned forward. "What is he doing?" the princess whispered. The beast growled once and sat down. The others followed. Jackson slowly raised his hand and placed it on the creature's head. It closed its eyes. Silence. The crowd was stunned. No one understood what just happened. 5 minutes passed. The bell rang. Only one contestant was untouched. The human survived the first trial without lifting a finger. From her seat, the princess stood up in shock. The golden wine spilled from her cup. Impossible. But Jackson didn't look up at her. He just walked calmly out of the pit, past the shocked guards, and disappeared into the hallway. The princess's joke had just become something real, something dangerous. And for the first time in years, she felt a strange chill, like something was about to change. Whispers spread across the palace like fire in dry grass. "Did you see that? The beast sat down like pets. No human should have survived that. He must be cheating. He used some tech, he must have." But Jackson didn't explain, he didn't smile. He didn't gloat. After the first trial, he quietly returned to the cold stone quarters given to the challengers. Most of the others avoided him now. Even the warriors who had mocked him earlier were now whispering in low voices. That night, Princess Zara stared at the security footage again and again. Her finger hovered over the pause button as she watched Jackson place his hand on the beast's head. Why did they obey him? She asked the palace AI. Unknown, the AI replied. Subject shows no neural implants. No pheromones. No alien tech, she frowned. There was no logic here. No science. Just mystery. And she hated not understanding something. The next morning, Trial 2 was announced. It was still called the Beast Pits, but this round would be different. The remaining 10 contestants would now face a newer generation of bioengineered beasts, ones that had never been tamed. These monsters had no eyes, no ears, just motion sensors and bone armor. They were designed to hunt, not think. Let's see if your magic trick works now, muttered one of the alien guards as Jackson walked silently toward the second pit. The crowd was even bigger today. The arena was hot with excitement. Nobles had brought their children. Even rival houses watched, curious to see if the human would finally die. Princess Zara sat in the royal box again, but this time she wasn't bored. Her eyes were locked on the human from the moment he stepped into the pit. Jackson was quiet, but something in his walk made him different from the others. Not proud, not scared, just focused. Inside the beast gate, 4 massive creatures waited, muscles tight, sensors glowing red. They were faster, stronger, and programmed to ignore fear or kindness. The bell rang. This time, the beasts didn't pause. They charged. The ground shook as they rushed at him. Jackson didn't move. Until the last second. Then, he dropped to the floor and rolled under the nearest beast. Sliding beneath its belly, the crowd gasped. Dust flew into the air. One of the alien warriors tried to copy him. He wasn't fast enough. A beast slammed him into the wall. Screams filled the air. The medbots rushed in. Jackson stood again, but not to run. He reached for a loose stone from the arena floor and threw it. Not at the beast, but at a pillar on the edge of the arena. The sound distracted the monsters, just long enough. Then Jackson ran, not away, but straight at the smallest beast. The creature lunged. Jackson jumped sideways, using the wall to flip onto its back. He grabbed hold of the sharp ridges. The beast twisted and screamed, but Jackson hung on like a shadow. With one hard kick, he hit a hidden panel near its neck. The creature froze. Everyone gasped. How does he know where that is? Said a royal scientist in panic. Jackson didn't answer. He just moved to the next one, dodging like a dancer, fast, smooth, perfect. He didn't kill the beasts. He never harmed them. But by the end of 5 minutes, he had deactivated 3 and calmed the 4th. Only Jackson was left standing. Again. The crowd exploded in cheers and confusion. Princess Zara stood slowly, her heart thudding in her chest. She had watched 1,000 trials, but nothing like this. This wasn't luck. This wasn't chance. He studied them, she whispered. He learned them. She leaned forward, gripping the edge of the balcony. But how? Jackson left the pit again, walking slowly, calmly, as if it was just another day. The scoreboard lit up. Jackson Vale passed. In the shadows of the palace, some nobles were not happy. He's just a human, one spat. We cannot let this continue. If he wins the trials, she'll have to keep her word, another warned. Marry a low-born outsider? Never! In a private room, an alien with glowing red eyes opened a file on a hologram. Bring me everything on this human, he said. Where he's from, what he wants, and who taught him. But the answer would surprise them all. Jackson was not trained by warriors, not by scientists. He had learned everything he knew in silence, from watching, from listening, from remembering. Because 10 years ago, his little sister had been taken by aliens, and he had promised her. One day I'll walk among the stars. I'll become something they fear, and I'll come back for you. The trials were just the beginning. The next morning, the sky over Xantora turned dark, not with clouds, but with energy. Trial 3 was coming, and it was not made for strength or speed. It was made to break the mind. The maze of memory blades was ancient. Even the oldest Xantoran scrolls called it cursed, Many champions had entered, but not all had returned. Some came back screaming. Some never came back at all. Now it was Jackson's turn. Princess Zara stood at the highest balcony. She didn't say a word. Her heart was quieter than usual, and that worried her. Why was she feeling this way? For a human. "He will not win this one," her advisor said beside her. "The maze shows your worst memories and cuts you with them. His kind. They are not built for that." She didn't respond. She was watching Jackson again, just like yesterday and the day before. He wasn't nervous. He just stood at the entrance of the maze, breathing slowly. 10 contestants remained. Now they would go in one by one. Jackson's turn came third. The heavy black doors creaked open. Cold air flowed out like breath from a dying creature. Blue mist covered the entrance. No one could see inside. Jackson stepped in. The doors slammed shut behind him. Inside the maze, everything was silent. The walls moved like living things. Blades flickered in and out of the air, sharp, thin, nearly invisible. But the true danger wasn't the steel. It was the memories. As Jackson took his 5th step, the walls around him began to glow. And suddenly, he was back on Earth. Back in the hospital, the smell of cleaning fluid, the beep of machines, and the sound of a little girl crying. Jackson froze. A memory. His memory. He saw himself, younger, sitting beside a hospital bed. In the bed was a girl no older than 8, her skin pale, her hair gone. His sister. "You promised me you'd come back," her voice whispered. "You promised." Blades came from the walls, shaped like guilt, shaped like sorrow. One cut across his arm, another across his side. But he didn't move. He clenched his fists. "I haven't broken my promise," he said. "Not yet." He walked forward, bleeding. The scene changed. Now he was in a spaceship, trapped, screaming. His sister being pulled away by armored aliens. He fought, but his hands were too small, too weak. He remembered the sound of her voice as they dragged her through the doors. "Jackson." A blade sliced down his back. He dropped to one knee. His breathing grew heavy. The maze was not just showing him pain, it was making him relive it. And still, he stood again. Every memory was a test. Every step forward meant walking through guilt, regret, and fear. But Jackson kept moving, not fast, not clean, but steady. Meanwhile, the crowd waited outside. A timer counted the minutes. 10, 12, 14. "He should be out by now," someone whispered. "Did the maze finally kill him?" Princess Zara said nothing. She stared at the door. Her fingers gripped the rail. And then, the doors opened. Smoke poured out. And through the haze, Jackson walked out. His shirt was torn, blood covered his side, and his face looked like he hadn't slept in a year. But he was alive, and his eyes, they burned like fire. The crowd was quiet at first, then it erupted, cheering, shouting, shock. Another victory, another impossible win. Princess Zara didn't cheer. She just stared. She didn't understand this human. Every trial was designed to break him, yet somehow he grew stronger. Not in muscle, but in something deeper. "He fought his own mind," she whispered, "and won." Inside the judging chamber, the nobles argued again. "We must disqualify him. He's too dangerous. He's proving humans are stronger than us." But no one could deny the truth. He passed. That night, as Jackson cleaned his wounds in the quiet of his room, a soft knock came at the door. He opened it and stood still. Princess Zara was there, alone. Her royal guard stayed far behind. She looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. Not as a joke, not as a challenge, but as a mystery she needed to understand. "Why are you here, human?" she asked softly. Jackson didn't smile, didn't answer right away. Then he said one sentence. "Because someone I love was taken by your kind." and I'm not leaving until I get her back." The princess's eyes widened, but before she could ask more, Jackson stepped back and closed the door. She stood there, heart pounding. The joke she made days ago now felt very real, and she had no idea what would happen next. Princess Zara couldn't sleep. She stood on her balcony, overlooking the glowing spires of the palace. The night was quiet, but her mind was not. The human's words repeated in her ears like a song she couldn't forget. "Someone I love was taken by your kind, and I'm not leaving until I get her back." That wasn't a warrior's boast. That was a brother's promise. The same human she once joked about now haunted her thoughts. She had laughed when he joined the trials. She never expected him to last a single round. But now, he had passed 3 of the deadliest challenges in royal history. Without weapons, without help, without fear. "What drives you, Jackson Vale?" she whispered to the wind. "What are you truly after?" She didn't know yet that someone else was asking the same question. Deep beneath the palace, in a hidden chamber, Lord Kale, an old noble with red cybernetic eyes, watched recordings of Jackson's trials. His long fingers tapped on a glowing console. "This human knows too much," he growled. "He moves like he's been trained, but not by us." Another noble leaned forward. "Shall we remove him before the next trial?" Lord Kale smiled. But it was not a kind smile. "Not yet. Let the princess get close to him, let her fall. Then, we strike." The next morning, Trial 4 was announced. This one wasn't about fighting or beasts or pain. This trial was simple, on the outside. It was called the Trial of Truth. 10 contestants sat in separate glass rooms. A truth orb floated in front of each one. This alien device glowed blue when the speaker told the truth. It burned red when a lie was told. The questions were different for each contestant, and each answer had consequences. The crowd loved this one. Lies meant pain. Honesty meant exposure. Even the strongest minds cracked under the pressure of secrets made public. Jackson sat in his glass chamber. The orb floated before him, humming softly. He looked tired, pale, but his eyes were steady. The first question echoed from the speakers. "Have you ever taken a life?" The orb glowed softly. Jackson nodded. "Yes." Blue light. "Did you enjoy it?" Jackson paused. "No." Blue again. "Do you hate the Xantoran race?" The crowd leaned in. The princess stopped breathing. Jackson's voice was calm. "I hate what they did, but I don't hate them all." The orb flickered and then stayed blue. Princess Zara let out the breath she didn't realize she was holding. Other contestants screamed as their lies triggered red flashes and electric shocks. One was dragged out unconscious. Another wept. But Jackson remained quiet, real, truthful. Then came the final question. "What do you want most in the universe?" He looked straight into the orb. "I want to find my sister," he said, "and I want her to be safe." The orb glowed brilliant blue, so bright it cracked the glass slightly. The audience fell silent. Princess Zara sat frozen. Something inside her shifted. For the first time, she saw not a contestant, not a human, not a joke, but a man with a broken heart and unshakable will. Later that night, she did something no princess had done in 200 years. She visited the contestant chambers again, but this time, not alone. She carried a gift, a small stone cube, glowing with soft green light. It was a healing box, a rare item used by the royal family to speed recovery. She had never given one to a commoner before. When the guards opened Jackson's door, he looked up, surprised. She stepped inside. No crown, no guards, just her and the cube. "You've been hurt," she said quietly, holding out the cube. He stared at it, then at her. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. She didn't have an answer, or maybe she didn't want to speak the truth yet. "Because you've made things complicated," she finally said, placing the cube beside him. Before he could say more, she turned and walked away. But before the door shut, he spoke. "Thank you, Princess." She paused, just for a moment, before vanishing down the hallway. Outside the chamber, one of Lord Kale's spies watched from a high corner. He sent a message with one tap of his finger. "The princess is compromised. She's falling for the human." Kale smiled darkly when he read it. "Good. Then when we kill him during the next trial, her heartbreak will weaken her. The throne will be easier to claim." The trap had already begun, and no one, not even Jackson, would see it coming. The next trial was known to break bones and hopes: the death drop. Even the name made seasoned warriors nervous. It was a massive arena built over a canyon of glowing lava. Dozens of spinning platforms hovered in the air, moving at random speeds and angles. One mistake, a wrong jump, a missed grip, and the contestant would fall straight down into the fire. No safety nets, no second chances. Each contestant had to cross from one end of the canyon to the other, jumping from platform to platform under pressure. And to make things worse, this time the trial was changed. Unknown to the public, someone had secretly altered the system. The platforms would now spin faster, move without warning, and some were programmed to disappear completely mid-jump. Lord Kale watched from the shadows above the control tower. His eyes glowed red with pleasure. "Let's see how far the human's luck goes now," he whispered. Princess Zara arrived late to the trial. She didn't want to watch, but she couldn't stay away. Her thoughts were a mess. Since last night, she couldn't stop thinking about that moment. The way Jackson looked at her. The soft "thank you," he said. He was a human, a stranger, but he was more honest than any noble she had met, and now, he was stepping into the death drop. The crowd cheered as the trial began. Each contestant would go one at a time. And this time, the order was reversed. The strongest alien champions would go first. Jackson was placed last, another quiet trick by Kale. He wanted the human to watch others fall, to feel fear build up, to break before he even jumped. One by one, the champions took their turns. Some succeeded with great skill, others fell screaming into the lava, instantly disqualified. One alien girl, brave and agile, made it halfway before she slipped and slammed hard against a spinning platform. She hung on barely. The crowd gasped. She cried for help. None came. She was going to fall until a loud voice echoed through the air. "Let me go next." Everyone turned. Jackson was already moving forward. "But it's not your turn," the trial master shouted. "She'll die if no one helps her," Jackson replied calmly. "Let me go." The princess stood up in shock. Was he insane? He didn't even know the girl. Jackson didn't wait for permission. He ran. The platform spun wildly beneath him. Heat rose like breath from a dragon. The nearest platform jerked away, nearly causing him to fall, but he didn't. His legs moved fast. His eyes never blinked. He jumped, once, twice, a third time, each leap perfect, even as the platform spun and twisted without warning. Kale frowned from the shadows. "This human is more trouble than I thought." Halfway across, Jackson reached the alien girl. She was slipping. "Don't let go," he said. Why are you helping me?" she asked, crying. "Because you would have done the same," he said. She shook her head. "No, I wouldn't," Jackson smiled. "Then maybe you'll learn to." He grabbed her arm, pulled her up, and the two began the rest of the trial, together. The final few jumps were the hardest. 2 platforms vanished mid-air just as Jackson pushed off. He twisted in the air, grabbed a hanging wire, swung like a pendulum and landed hard, shielding the girl with his body. The crowd went silent. Then, roared with cheers. Princess Zara pressed a hand to her lips. Her heart beat faster than ever before. "He saved her," she whispered. "He completed the course," the trial master announced. "Despite sabotage." The word echoed. Sabotage. Gasps. The officials panicked. Someone had tampered with the trial, and only one name came to mind. Kyle. That evening, as the stars rose, Jackson sat alone in the healing chamber, shirt off, covered in burns and bruises. His body was shaking, but his eyes still burned with quiet fire. There was a knock. He turned his head. Princess Zira stepped inside again. This time not with a gift, but with questions. "Why did you save her?" she asked. "You didn't have to." Jackson stared at her. "I don't leave people behind. Not anymore." She sat down across from him slowly. "You should have let her fall. She was your rival." He shook his head. "I've already lost someone I loved. I won't watch others suffer if I can stop it." She looked away. "You're different." Silence fell between them. Then she asked what had been haunting her all day. "Do you hate me? For what I said before the trials? About marrying a human?" He looked at her for a long moment. "No," he said quietly. "But if I win, I hope you'll mean it." Her cheeks turned warm. Before she could answer, a guard stormed in with a message. "Trial 5 is complete, but there's been an attack on the data center. All files about the human have been erased." Jackson stood, eyes sharp, voice cold. "Then they're getting scared." The palace looked beautiful under starlight, but inside its halls, something rotten was growing. After the shocking sabotage during the death drop, everyone had questions but no answers. The officials claimed it was a glitch, but Jackson knew better. So did Princess Zira. She had seen it with her own eyes. Platforms vanishing mid-jump, fire jets suddenly activating. That wasn't an accident. Someone wanted the human dead, and not just from the trials. That night, Jackson sat in the royal garden, resting near a fountain. The water shimmered blue under the moons. His injuries still ached, but his heart was calm, until he heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned and found Princess Zira. She wasn't in her royal gown this time. She wore a simple silver robe, her crown left behind. "I needed to see you," she said. "Why?" Jackson asked, cautious. She looked around, then sat beside him. "There's something wrong in the palace," she whispered. "I think someone's working against you." Jackson didn't react with surprise, only silence. "You already know," she realized. He nodded. "They tried to kill me during the trial. I don't think they'll stop." Zara looked at the ground, guilt flashing across her face. It started as a joke. "I didn't know things would go this far." "You're not to blame," Jackson said. "But you might be the only one who can help stop it." Before she could answer, a royal servant approached, holding a golden tray. "Evening meal, Champion Jackson," he said politely. Jackson reached for the drink but paused. He looked at the servant's trembling hands. Too nervous. Too fast. Something was wrong. "You taste it first," Jackson said calmly but firmly. The servant froze. I cannot, sir. It's not permitted." Zara stood quickly, her voice sharp. "You will drink it now." The servant's eyes darted. Then, suddenly, he turned to flee. Jackson moved like lightning, grabbing the man and slamming him against a tree. The cup spilled. The ground hissed. The liquid melted the stone. Zira gasped. "Poison!" The guards rushed in and dragged the man away. But before he was pulled out of sight, Jackson saw something flash in his collar. A red crest. "Kyle's house," Jackson muttered. Zara went pale. "He tried to poison you. In the royal palace." "That means he's not hiding anymore," Jackson said. "He knows I'm close to something." Zara's hand shook. "If this continues, you'll be killed before the next trial." "Unless we turn the game on him," Jackson replied. "Make him slip." Meanwhile, deep below the palace, Lord Kale slammed his fists on the table. "He's still alive? Useless fool. I gave you one task." His spies said nothing. Kale paced in front of the glowing screen, watching Zara's image. "She grows too close. If she falls in love with that human and he wins, the throne may become his." He clenched his jaw. "I won't allow it." Then he turned to a shadowy figure in the corner. "Activate the sleeper," he ordered. The figure nodded and vanished. Back in Jackson's chamber, he cleaned the burn from where a drop of poison had touched his boot. Princess Zira stood nearby, watching him. "I don't understand you," she said. "Why keep going? You've already proven your strength. You've already inspired half the galaxy." Jackson looked up. "Because my sister is still out there. And Kale's involved. I can feel it." Zara hesitated. "What will you do if you find her?" He paused. "Whatever I have to." Then quietly he added, "She was only 8 when they took her. I was supposed to protect her. I failed. I can't fail again." Zara stepped closer. Their faces were only inches apart now. "You're not like anyone I've ever met," she whispered. "Neither are you," he said. They didn't kiss. But in that moment, something more powerful passed between them. Trust, not of a soldier or a subject, but something deeper. Just then, the door creaked. A figure stepped inside. "Zara!" the voice called softly. The princess turned and froze. Her personal guard, Lyra, stood there. But her eyes glowed unnaturally red. "Lyra?" Zara asked. "What's wrong?" The woman moved forward slowly, then pulled a hidden blade. "He must die, now!" She charged at Jackson. Zara screamed. Jackson dodged, grabbing a chair and using it as a shield. The blade sliced through it like butter. "She's been turned," he shouted. "Mind control." The two fought in the small chamber, Jackson blocking, dodging, refusing to hurt her. "Lyra, stop!" Zara begged. "This isn't you." Finally, Jackson used a pulse from his belt to shock her unconscious without killing her. She collapsed. Zara rushed to her side. "She was my friend." Jackson touched her shoulder. "Kale has eyes inside your circle. You're in danger now, too." Zara stood slowly, her face hard. "Then let's finish this together." The royal city of Xantora buzzed with electricity. The final trial had arrived. This was the moment the galaxy had waited for, when the last contestant would either rise as a champion or fall into the fire of history, and at the center of it all stood a human, worn, scarred, steady, Jackson Vale. His name now echoed in alien markets and homes, whispered in curiosity and awe. But this final trial wasn't just another test. This one was designed to destroy him. From the highest tower, Lord Kale watched the arena below. His hands were clasped behind his back, his red eyes glowing. "Everything is in place," he whispered. "He will not leave this trial alive." Inside the princess's chambers, Zara stood beside her mirror, staring at her own reflection. But her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about Jackson, the way he fought, the way he never gave up, the way he looked at her not like a princess, but like a person. "Be safe," she whispered into the mirror. "Please." Then she turned, put on her crown, and walked out. The final trial, the Ring of Flame. The rules were simple. 10 gates, 1 path. Every contestant must choose 1 gate. 1 path, but 9 of the 10 led to certain death. Only 1 path, hidden, random, unpredictable, would lead to victory. It wasn't a trial of strength or truth, it was a trial of faith, and Jackson had no clues. Or so they thought. The announcer spoke loudly. "Step forward, champion of Earth, choose your gate." 10 gates stood in a circle, each marked with alien runes. The crowd leaned in. Zara watched from the royal box, her heart in her throat. Jackson stepped forward. He didn't study the runes. He didn't hesitate. He picked gate 7. Why? Because that was his sister's favorite number. As he walked inside, the doors slammed shut behind him. The room beyond was pitch black. No light. No sound, until the floor lit up. A circle of fire surrounded him. Then a voice echoed, one Jackson hadn't heard in years. "Jackson." His heart stopped. It was her voice. "Sierra?" He spun around, and there she stood, his little sister, still 8 years old, still in a hospital gown. But something was wrong. Her eyes glowed red. Her smile was twisted. "You left me," she said. "You let them take me." He froze. "You're not real," he whispered. She stepped closer, the flames rising around her. "You promised you'd come back. You lied." The room shifted, becoming the lab where she was taken. He heard screams, machines, needles, cages. It was all a hallucination. The trial was breaking his mind again, but this time he knelt to the illusion. He looked at her, not with fear, but with love. "I failed you once," he said. "But not again." He took off the small charm around his neck, Sierra's old bracelet, and placed it on the ground. "I've carried this for 10 years. If your voice is here, your spirit is near, and I will not stop until I find your real self." The flame suddenly died down. The illusion shattered. A secret path appeared. He had passed. The arena doors opened, revealing Jackson, sweating, shaking, but alive. The crowd gasped. He had won. The crowd roared as he walked forward. But just before he could reach the stage, a sound rang through the air. A gunshot. Princess Zara screamed. Jackson dropped to one knee, blood spilled down his side. Sniper on the upper ledge, Kales. Last weapon! The crowd panicked. Guards ran. Jackson tried to stand but stumbled. Zara didn't wait. She ran to him. Royal robes flying behind her. She dropped beside him, her hands shaking. No, stay with me. Jackson coughed, weakly smiling. Looks like I passed the trial again. Zara touched his face, eyes full of tears. You're not dying, do you hear me? Suddenly, Kale's voice echoed from the broadcast tower. This farce is over. No human will marry into our royal blood. This ends now. But he didn't know something. Zara had planned for this. Before the trial, she had passed emergency powers to the High Council, giving them the right to remove any noble who used treason to interfere. Guards stormed Kale's tower. His scream echoed as they dragged him out. The threat was gone. But Jackson was still bleeding. Days later, he woke up in a soft bed. Golden sunlight touched his face. And there she was, Princess Zara, sitting quietly beside him. He blinked. I'm still alive? Barely, she whispered. But yes. Did I win? She smiled. You did, then she leaned close. And about my promise. Jackson raised an eyebrow. The marriage? She didn't blush this time. Yes, I meant it. If you still want to, he smiled. Only if you walk down the aisle wearing armor. I've seen what your world is like, she laughed, and kissed him softly. Later, during the royal ceremony, the entire galaxy tuned in. A human had passed the impossible. A human had earned the respect of an alien world. And when Princess Zara took his hand, the nobles stood in silence, some in shock, some in awe, but none dared laugh, because she had joked she'd marry the human. And now she really did. Her face, when he survived, was something no one would ever forget. And somewhere out there, a signal blinked on a stolen ship. A girl with familiar eyes saw the wedding on a broken screen and whispered, Big brother, I knew you'd come.